Choose one, and immediately focus your attention on your dominant hand. Refrain from moving it. Simply experience its weight. You've been pleading with God for help, but He has yet to respond. However, God is dissatisfied with your request for power, as He has already inscribed the code into your skin. This divine signature, a specific seal, is hidden in the lines of your palm, and you are completely unaware of it. You believe it is simply anatomical. The adversary is aware of its authority. You are living your life as a beggar, perched on a chest of gold, enduring hunger because you have misplaced the key. However, the key is not lost. It's imprinted on your body. The information that follows is not metaphorical. The decoding of your M sign is a revelation that elevates you from a seeker of permission to a master of your destiny. You require this immediately. Utilize it. It is not a coincidence that you are viewing this. This is not a random suggestion from YouTube's algorithm. This is a divine appointment. Consider your current location. You could be in your car right now, clutching the steering wheel and feeling agitated for no apparent reason. Perhaps you are lying in the dark, with only the light from this screen illuminating your face, and you are perplexed as to why you are feeling so disconnected from the outside world. Anxiety is not the cause of restlessness. The signal is a GPS signal. Your suffering's timeline has expired, and as a result, God either woke you up or guided you to this exact moment. Despite the fact that you had hoped for a sign from the sky, you had it all along. Please pay close attention to my words. Kindly refrain from clicking. Please refrain from scrolling. We are about to unlock this because it is the missing instruction manual for your life. We will complete 3 critical tasks if you stay with me until the end of this message. First, we'll decipher the ancient Hebrew mystery encoded in the letter M on your palm, revealing its significance as the portal to your flow. Second, I'll teach you about the Jericho Touch Framework, a precise protocol that will turn your hand from a tool of labor into a weapon of war. Finally, at the end of this video, we'll perform a sealing ceremony to reactivate the dormant engine in your spirit. If you leave early, the weapon will remain locked. Therefore, keep your concentration. Your success depends on your diligence. Return your attention to the hand in question. Focus your attention on the center of your palm. Do you experience a specific type of heat in that location? Is there any sense of weightiness? Occasionally, it appears to be a subtle vibration or an acute itch that cannot be relieved by scratching. This could have been overlooked for an extended period of time. You believed it was due to nerves. You thought it was stress. However, I would like to give you a spiritual diagnosis. The heat is caused by high voltage energy attempting to pass through an inadequately sized wire. You carry a frequency of power that exceeds the capacity of your current reality. This particular phenomenon is discussed in Isaiah chapter 49, verse 16 of the Bible. It reads, "Behold, I have buried thee on the palms of my hands." Most people think this is poetic and pleasant, but they don't realize the violence inherent in the original language. Graven is a term used in English. However, the term used in the original Hebrew is chakash. Chakash does not refer to the process of painting on a surface or drawing with a pen. Chakash is a verb that means to cut into stone, hack, or engrave by removing flesh. It is an irreversible and permanent mark caused by force. When God declares that He has graven you, He means that He has imprinted His identity on your very being. He has dug a passageway inside you. He has inscribed His signature on yours, just as He has you. This is the reason you feel pressure in your palm. The cut's memory remains unchanged. It is the engraving's anguish. You are not just a biological accident. You are an identified vessel. The scar of your divine selection is M. However, you are aware of the carving's weight, correct? It weighs a lot. And the heat in your palm isn't the only indicator of this mark. This sign has a dark side. A specific, painful reason why people with this M often feel completely isolated, even when they are surrounded by their own family. It causes a frequency mismatch, which creates a sense of alienation within your own home. In order to activate the power, we must first address the pain. The discomfort you are feeling is not the result of a mental illness. It's a frequency mismatch. I'd like to transport you to a moment that I am sure you've had 1,000 times before. Consider yourself at a holiday dinner or family gathering. The table is brimming with food. The room is alive with conversation and laughter. You are surrounded by people you care about. Despite being physically seated in that chair, you feel spiritually disconnected, as if you are floating 1,000,000 miles away. When you look at them, you encounter an unusual, imperceptible glass barrier that separates you from everyone else. When they tell a joke, you smile. When they speak, you nod in agreement. However, your spirit is inspecting the exit from within. You have the sensation of being an undercover agent from another planet who has been transported to a society where you cannot communicate. In the darkness, you pondered the question, what is wrong with me? Why can't I just be a normal person? What is the cause of my exhaustion when I'm supposed to be in love with these people? Listen to me and choose one. This alienation is not a defect. It is the direct result of the seal on your palm. The M in your palm serves as a high-frequency antenna. Dasin, you are constantly perceiving spiritual cues, unspoken emotions, and hidden agendas that your peers are unaware of. Your system is overheating as a result of your attempt to plug a high-voltage appliance into a low-voltage outlet. This is why you feel tired. This is why you go to the restroom or your car to catch your breath. You're not antisocial. The mark on your hand causes your receiver to remain open, resulting in spiritual overstimulation. This brings us back to the enigma of Isaiah, chapter 49, verse 16, and the Hebrew word chakak. It is critical that we investigate further into this matter because it reveals the exact cause of your loneliness. It is important to remember that the term chakak refers to the process of engraving or cutting. Consider how a sculptor transforms a block of marble into a masterpiece. He must remove the stone that surrounds the image to reveal it. He is required to create a space. He is required to remove the material. That was the outcome that you experienced. God's carving of His signature into your palm also set you apart from the crowd. The process of being graven necessitates separation. Individuals, groups, and environments that can no longer cling to you are represented by flying stone chips. The sense of isolation you feel is simply the void God has created around you to facilitate His communication with you. It would imply that you were made of the same stuff as the world if you were in perfect harmony with it. However, you do not conform to the norm because you have been predestined for a specific role. You saw this isolation as a curse. You have asked God to conform you to the same standard as the rest of humanity. However, God expresses that it is impossible to restore you to a state of normalcy without jeopardizing the design. I separated from you because I needed someone who could hear me over the din. While we're talking about noise, let's talk about your physical response to the environment. This represents the sign's somatic reality. You most likely have a physical intolerance to chaos that others do not understand, as this M acts as an energy conductor. Have you ever noticed how your body reacts when you enter a crowded supermarket or a loud stadium? Your chest contracts. Your hands may even start sweating or trembling. You feel sudden irrational rage or a desperate desire to flee. Physicians may refer to this condition as sensory processing disorder or anxiety. However, from a spiritual standpoint, this is a red flag for your discernment engine. Your hand or spirit detects conflicting frequencies. Even before you see it, you can sense the spiritual conflict in the air. You've gone through years of self-hatred, concealment, and medication to alleviate your sensitivity. You saw yourself as weak. However, the reality is that you are a fragile instrument in an unforgiving world. In a radioactive zone, you are a Geiger counter. A Geiger counter is working perfectly, as evidenced by its erratic clicking. Your dislike for drama, inability to engage in small talk, and preference for long periods of silence are not symptoms of a medical condition. These are the operational prerequisites for a prophet. You have endured this isolation for decades because you believe it is a form of punishment. You thought you were the only outcast. However, it is now clear that the black sheep is a shepherd in training. The separation was essential. The chisel was the cause of the pain. However, the dangerous part is now upon us. Your vulnerability to a lie stems from your desperate search for meaning in the mark on your hand, as well as your desire for connection. The world has noticed the M on your palm and has offered you a different, more appealing explanation. They tell you that M stands for millionaire. They tell you that this sign is a lottery ticket that guarantees easy wealth. If you have this line, they guarantee that money will just fall into your lap without any resistance. Is this accurate? Is it the most dangerous trap the enemy has ever devised to keep you from realizing the true power you possess? Be extremely cautious when making a decision, because the information I am about to reveal will fundamentally change your perception of money. We should be honest with each other at this time. This has been the focus of your search. You're aware of the rumors. Palm readers and mystics from nearly every culture believe that the letter M on the palm represents money, millionaire status, or material abundance.
At the moment, a part of your soul is desperate to believe that this is the whole truth. Because let's face it, you're exhausted. You're tired of the battle.
You're tired of mentally calculating the cost of groceries before reaching the cash register. You are tired of seeing people with half your integrity have twice as much wealth as you. As a result, you want the M to signify that a significant financial transfer is on the way, which will immediately pay off your debts. And I am not here to tell you that God wants you to be impoverished. That's a fabrication from the pit. That symbol unquestionably represents abundance. However, the belief that the M only represents money is a dangerous half-truth that has led to the demise of numerous chosen individuals. It's a spiritual trap. If you believe the sign is a lottery ticket imprinted on your skin, you will find yourself in the same situation as the man I once advised. We'll refer to him as Michael. Michael's M markings were among the most distinctive I've ever seen. It was undeniable, profound, and unbreakable. He took the millionaire interpretation online as a sign that his working days were over. He believed that his breakthrough would be effortless and supernatural. As a result, he stopped exerting himself. He stopped his strategic planning. He began the process of waiting. He sat in his living room, thanking God for the check that arrived in the mail. He rejected practical opportunities because he thought they were beneath his new destiny. His friends were informed that God had designated him for wealth. I'm currently anticipating the manifestation. 2 years later, I sat with Michael in a small, low-lit room. He was hovering over a document on a cold metal table, holding a pen. However, he was not signing a deed for a mansion. He was in the process of signing bankruptcy documents. He looked at his hand, then turned to me, tears in his eyes, and asked, "Did God deceive me? Why is this mark there when I'm losing everything?" Michael's failure was due to a misunderstanding of the mark's mechanics. He believed the M represented the fruit, but it is actually the root. He was anticipating the fall of the apple, whereas God was anticipating the planting of the seed. This leads to the most important biblical correction you will ever receive regarding your finances. It appears in Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 18. It is likely that you have heard the following quote, "But thou shalt remember the Lord thy God, for it is he who giveth the power to obtain wealth." Read it again with your spirit. Please note the absence of any specific information. It does not state that he bestows wealth on you. It is said that he gives you the ability to accumulate wealth. It is critical to consider the context in this situation. Just before they arrived in the Promised Land, Moses addressed the Israelites. He was warning them about the risks of comfort. He knew the source would be forgotten once they saw the abundance. However, the most important revelation for you is the distinction between the engine and the outcome. God did not provide the final product. He provides you with the generator. The Hebrew term "coke" in the verse refers to power, implying the capacity, strength, and ability to produce divine results. The M on your hand does not represent a bank account number. It is a schematic for the Coke engine. It acts as the ignition switch for a divine ability to create value, solve problems, and allocate resources. Michael had the engine, but he didn't start it because he expected the vehicle to drive itself. Therefore, choose one and respond to this inquiry in solitude. Have you anticipated receiving funds? Alternatively, have you activated power? Because if the M does not stand for money or a millionaire, what is the power it refers to? What is the location of the power that Deuteronomy claims is given to you by God to create reality? It is concealed in the true ancient meaning of the letter on your hand. This is not a letter in the English language. It is a code that has existed from the beginning of time. And once you understand its true significance, you will realize that money is only a minor, insignificant side effect of the terrifying authority you actually wield. Be prepared, because we are about to debunk the illusion you have been perpetuating. Refrain from viewing your hand through 21st century lenses. Your palm is not shaped like the English letter M. God created the first man from the dust of the ground before the English language existed. That shape represents the ancient Hebrew letter Mem. Furthermore, the term Mem does not mean money. The term Mem represents water, and its definition is flow. It represents an enormous amount of disorder. According to the Bible, the Spirit of God moved across the face of the waters at the beginning. That is Mem. It is the universe's primordial, chaotic, and inventive essence that exists before it becomes a reality. This changes everything. Why do you think that money is referred to as currency? Because it is meant to flow, just like a current. It's a liquid. No, God did not make you a warehouse where money is left to rot. He designated you as a riverbed through which resources flow. Michael, the person I previously mentioned, was unsuccessful in his attempt to build a dam to collect water. However, Mem requires flow. When you grasp tightly out of fear, the current stops and the water stagnates. You are not in financial trouble, chosen one. You've been denied access. You are a high-pressure fire hose that has been linked by your own misinterpretation of the design. You prayed for a pool of wealth to sit in, but God gave you the piping system required to irrigate a desert. Deuteronomy does not refer to the power to collect. It's the ability to direct. This brings us to the uncomfortable dark truth that we've been avoiding, the real reason you've kept this power dormant. You have refrained from activating this flow because you are deeply afraid of your own hands. Visualize them now. Do not move. Instead, imagine your hands floating in front of you. Rewind the tape of your life. The wreckage is visible in your memory. You recall the relationship that you tried to keep, but it eventually dissolved. You recall a job that you tried to save, but was eventually terminated. You recall the person whose condition deteriorated despite your efforts to help them recover. There is a voice in the back of your mind saying, "Do not touch it. You will damage it." You believe you have the reverse Midas touch. You believe that all of the tasks you complete are detrimental. I'm here to tell you that the voltage in question isn't a curse. It's unregulated. You destroyed those items not out of malice, but because you are both powerful and unskilled. You are a portal attempting to serve as a container. A portal without the ability to open and close is dangerous. The house is submerged in water. Have you ever had an energy surge like this before? Recall an incident that occurred immediately before a major disagreement or an unexpected setback. Did you feel a sensation of heat rising in your chest? Did you feel a vibration in your palms? The mem energy was accumulating and in need of release. However, due to your inability to control it, it exploded and destroyed what you were attempting to protect. Consequently, you stopped using it. You put your spiritual hands into your pockets. Instead of engaging in destructive behavior, you decided it was safer to remain powerless. You chose poverty because it seemed to be a safer option than the responsibilities of power. However, God has declared that the time for concealment is over. I did not give you a spirit of fear, but rather a spirit of power, love, and sound mind. A controlled flow indicates a sound mind. The question is no longer, when will I receive the funds, but how can I open the gate without damaging the hinges? If you serve as a conduit for the transformation of spiritual memory into physical reality, you must have a mechanism. You must find a way to direct this powerful water so that it builds empires rather than submerges them. It is critical that you have the ability to point your hand at a wall of debt and cause it to collapse, not through wishful thinking, but through a precise spiritual operation. To accomplish this, the theory must be abandoned in favor of a specific ancient battle protocol used by Joshua at Jericho's walls. It wasn't a mystical event. A frequency alignment was used to collapse a physical barrier using the voice and hands. Furthermore, you are about to receive detailed instructions for completing this task. Your current position is at the activation threshold. We've identified the mark, revealed the fear, and redefined the physics of your spiritual hands. You are a gateway. A closed portal, on the other hand, is nothing more than a wall. At the moment, we must have access to it. We intend to implement a spiritual technology known as the Jericho Touch. This isn't a lucky charm. Joshua used this precise operational framework to knock down the walls of a fortified city without firing a single physical shot. Understanding the proper use of one's hand requires first understanding the events that occurred at Jericho. The majority of people believe that the walls collapsed as a result of the crowd's shouting. That's the Sunday school version. The strategic truth is revealed in the silence preceding the shout. God instructed the army to march in complete silence around the city for 6 days. Can you see the tension? Thousands of soldiers, their weapons drawn, move through the dust without saying a word. What is the reason behind the silence? Silence causes stress. The men, the spiritual water, can ascend behind the dam thanks to the silence. With each step they took, the atmosphere became charged. Also, what were they transporting? Ark of the Covenant. Also, how was the ark transported? By the priest's hands. God's heavy glory was carried by the hands as the pressure grew. Joshua gave the command at the exact moment of critical mass on the 7th day. The molecular structure of the stone walls was shattered by the frequency of the sound emitted by the hands carrying the glory. The same principle applies to your hand. The ark's contact point is the M on your palm. Your voice was excessively loud at this early hour. Instead of charging the atmosphere, you've been begging on the wall. This is handled by the Jericho Touch framework. It consists of 3 distinct movements: determine, establish, and resolve. We will now review this protocol. This doesn't require your presence at home. This can be done from your current location. The first step is to get situated. It is critical that you identify the specific wall that is impeding your flow. Do not simply state, "I am having financial difficulties." This is overly vague. Coordinates are essential for spiritual warfare. Is there a particular debt? Is this from the bank? Is the boss chaotic? Do you have a physical illness? Consider the obstruction right now. Visualize it clearly in your mind. Assign it a form. Assign a name to it. Concentrate on the stone until you can discern its texture, which is preventing you from carrying out your obligation. Contact is the next step. The M is activated at this point. In a secure environment, you would physically place your hand on the bill or the doorframe. However, if you are currently driving or lying in the dark, we will use projected touch. I want you to imagine your dominant hand, the one with the mark. Assume the hand is emitting the high voltage heat that we discussed earlier. Immediately, imagine reaching out and placing your hand directly on the wall you just saw. When operating a vehicle, tighten your grip on the steering wheel. The wheel represents control over your life. If you are lying down, place your hand on your chest. Feel the tangible reality of it. The bridge is the point of contact. You are connecting heaven's high voltage power to the dead structure of your problem. Please maintain your position. Avoid moving. Feel the vibrations. This is the mem that travels from your spirit through your palm's portal to the enemy's structure. You are currently charging the wall. The decree represents the 3rd step. This is the point at which the majority of the chosen individuals fail. You are accustomed to requesting assistance. You've grown accustomed to pleading with God to move the wall. However, Joshua did not request that the wall be demolished. He demanded it. The Jericho touch necessitates the transition from petition to legislation. No, a king does not ask that the door be opened. He places an order for it. I would like you to change your internal posture while keeping your mental hand pressed against the wall. Do not request that the debt be erased. Command the resources to flow. Do not ask for the illness to go away. Command the health to align. You're not talking to God about the mountain. You're talking to the mountain about your God. Let's run a simulation. Imagine you're fighting against the spirit of poverty that has plagued your family for generations. Feel the cold, hard surface of that absence. Now transfer the heat from your palm to it. Feel the pressure building, and in the silence of your mind, I want you to let out a shout of authority. Say, I command this structure to collapse. I cut the source of this lack. By the living God's seal on my hand, I declare this wall complete. Did you experience that shift, that sudden lightness in your chest? That's the dam breaking. That's the men rushing through. You recently transitioned from being a victim of your circumstances to being the architect of your reality. You've used the key. But I must warn you, this level of authority is not unnoticed. This isn't a game. When you begin swinging a sword, you create noise in the spirit realm. The moment you activate the Jericho touch, you appear on the enemy's radar. You have just declared war on the systems that have imprisoned you, and the enemy will not stand by and watch his defenses crumble. He is going to push back. Newton's third law states that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. This applies to both physics and spiritual warfare. When you push against the darkness, it will push back. You are about to face resistance. But don't be afraid. This resistance does not indicate that you failed. It is proof that you are now dangerous. You must know exactly what is coming for you. The enemy employs a specific playbook against chosen individuals who discover their hands. He is not creative, but he is productive. He will launch a series of counterattacks aimed at getting you to put your hands back in your pockets. He wants you to believe the Jericho touch did not work. He wants you to retreat into doubt. There are 7 specific types of confrontation that are about to occur in your life. You have to recognize them as soon as they appear, or you will think you are crazy. The first one typically occurs within 24 hours of activation. It's a subtle, creeping sensation that attacks your physical body, attempting to convince you that your strength has vanished. The first form of attack is what I refer to as the heavy hand. It usually hits you when you decide to take action. You awaken to a vision. You understand exactly what to do. But your body feels like lead. It is a supernatural exhaustion that is unrelated to the number of hours you slept. You sit at your desk or stand in your kitchen, and raising your arm to begin work feels like lifting 500 pounds. The enemy is attempting to alter the gravity around you. He understands that if he can make the simple act of moving your hand seem impossible, you will give up before you even strike the first blow. Don't mistake this for laziness. It refers to atmospheric resistance. The second form is a trembling hand. This is the spirit of anxiety manifesting somatically. You'll notice this when you're about to sign a contract, make a crucial phone call, or send an important email. Suddenly, your hands begin to shake. A cold sweat forms on your palms. Your heart pounds against your ribs. The enemy is attempting to bypass your spirit and compromise your nervous system. He wants you to look at your trembling hands and conclude, I am too weak to handle this responsibility. He wants you to drop the sword due to fear. The third form is the sticky hand. This is one of the most dangerous because it prevents new blessings. The sticky hand occurs when you are unable to let go of a previous offense. Someone has betrayed you. Someone stole from you. Even though you claim to have moved on, your spirit remains gripped by that memory. As long as your hand is tightly wrapped around a grudge, it cannot be opened to receive the new flow of mem. You're stuck holding ashes and wondering why God hasn't given you beauty. The enemy keeps your hand sticky with bitterness so that when a new opportunity arises, you have no fingers to grasp it. The fourth form is a withered hand. This is the spirit of paralysis. You know you have the ability. You know you have a calling, but you're frozen. You spend years planning, researching, and preparing, but never pull the trigger. You are stuck in a cycle of analysis paralysis. Your hand has withered as a result of inactivity. Mark, chapter 3, provides a precise diagnosis of this condition. When Jesus enters the synagogue, he finds a man with a withered hand. The Greek word for withered suggests that the vital fluids, or life source, had dried up. It was stiff. It was useless. Take note of the context. The religious leaders were closely watching Jesus to see if he would heal on the Sabbath and then accuse him. The atmosphere was heavy with judgment and hostility. That is precisely where many of you are right now. You feel withered because you're surrounded by critics, doubters, and a system that expects you to fail. But look at the cure. Jesus didn't go over to massage the man's hand. He gave him a command that appeared impossible. He said, "Stretch forth your hand." Think about the logic behind that. The man's hand was paralyzed. He simply couldn't move it. However, the miracle did not come while we were waiting. It was stretching. Jesus commanded him to do what he couldn't do. And as the man tried to move against the stiffness, as he used his will to overcome the paralysis, the power met his effort, and the hand was restored. The withered hand is healed through aggressive action in the face of inability. The fifth type of attack is the empty hand. This is the accuser's voice, telling you that you are an imposter. You look at your hands and find nothing. You compare your beginning with someone else's middle. You say you don't have the resources, degree, or connections. The enemy blinds you to God's seal on your palm, forcing you to focus on the emptiness of your grip. He wants you to believe you are bankrupt, so you never try to make a purchase. The sixth form is the dirty hand. This is the spirit of shame. The enemy will show you a high-definition movie of your past sins. He will remind you of what those hands accomplished in the dark. He will say, "How dare you attempt to touch holy things with those hands? How dare you expect a blessing when you've created such a mess?" He attempts to stain your conscience so that you withdraw your hand from God's table, believing you are unworthy of eating. The seventh form is the fist of control. This is where you attempt to force the outcome. You stop trusting the flow and begin manipulating. You hold the steering wheel of your life so tightly that your knuckles turn white. You attempt to open the door by banging on it until your hand bleeds. This is not authority, it is fear disguised as effort. And it immediately stops the flow of men because water cannot pass through a clenched fist. These are the 7 weapons assembled against you. Recognizing them is half the battle. But how can you defeat them? How do you keep your hands clean, sturdy, and open? You require a maintenance protocol. You need a way to flush the system. We call this the open palm protocol. I want you to engage with me spiritually right now. If you are unable to move your physical body, you should refrain from doing so. But in your mind, picture your hands. See them clenched, gripping the stress, fear, control, and shame. They are heavy and tired. Now, in your imagination, flip them over so that the palms face the sky. And I want you to imagine the joints gradually uncurling, finger by finger, letting go of the need to control, the need to punish, and the paralysis. Visualize the letter MEM on your palm beginning to glow in a cool blue light. Remember that MEM is living water. Imagine a stream of crystal clear supernatural water emerging from the center of your palms. It is washing away the residue of the past. It is reducing the intensity of anxiety. It hydrates the withered and dry places of your hope. Inhale deeply, and as you exhale, imagine pushing the water out through your hands and into the air around you. Say to your spirit, I am releasing the resistance and the outcome. I'm a channel, not a dam. As the water flows out, new power enters. This is the secret to the open palm. You cannot receive a new impartation with a closed fist. By opening your hand, you are indicating to the heavens that you are prepared for the upgrade. You have the Jericho Touch, which is an attack weapon. You have the Open Palm Protocol as your defensive weapon. You've identified the enemy's 7 strategies. The board is set. The pieces are moving. But there is one last thing you should see. Because when you combine a clean hand and a predetermined timeline, acceleration occurs. What happens if you can maintain this open palm stance and withstand these 7 attacks? History teaches us the answer. After the walls of Jericho fell, the Israelites received more than just a city. They began a season of conquest. And right now, a specific timeline hangs over your life. You are not fighting some random battle. You're finishing a 40-year cycle in 40 days. There is a major event on the horizon, a divine convergence that requires you to be fully operational. Let me show you what's coming. History has shown that when a chosen one finally aligns their biological design with spiritual law, the outcome is never a trickle. It's a flood. Allow me to demonstrate this to you with a real-world example. A woman named Sarah approached me with the same marking you have. Her palm bore the letter M, and her life was chaotic. She was 42 years old, buried in credit card debt, and facing foreclosure on her home. She had said every prayer she knew. She had planted seeds that she couldn't afford. But nothing changed because she was disrupting the flow. She was acting out of fear, her hands clenched, pleading with God to save her from a situation over which she had complete control. When she discovered the truth about MEM, everything changed. She stopped asking God for money. Instead, she started to use the Jericho Touch. Every morning, she would place her hand on her front door and direct the flow of resources to enter. Every time panic tried to seize her chest, she used the Open Palm Protocol to release the fear and visualize the water flowing. For the first 2 weeks, nothing happened outside. In fact, the pressure grew worse. That was the resistance we discussed. But she stood her ground. On the 40th day, exactly at the end of her cycle, the breakthrough not only knocked, but also broke down the door. She received a call about an old, forgotten inheritance from a distant relative that had been embroiled in legal proceedings for a decade. The funds were released that morning. This was not a lottery win. It was a blocked flow that became unblocked when she finally turned the valve. The money was sufficient to pay off the debt and the mortgage, with exactly $700 left over. That is God's precision. Sarah did not get lucky. She became aligned. And this brings us to the prophetic timeline that is hovering over you right now. Why did it take 40 days for Sarah? And why am I informing you that a major event is approaching in the next 40 days? In Scripture, the number 40 is the number of transitions. It rained for 40 days during the flood to cleanse the earth. Moses remained on the mountain for 40 days to receive the law. Jesus fasted for 40 days to prepare for ministry. You are entering your own 40-day incubation period. From the moment you activate this seal, which we are about to do, you are stepping into a spiritual tunnel. For the next 40 days, the atmosphere around you is going to accelerate. You will see doors opening that have been rusted shut for years. Boom. You will see relationships that no longer serve you suddenly fall away. Do not panic when this happens. It is the mem washing away the debris to clear the channel. But there is one final critical warning I must give you before we seal this. This is where most people fail. Once you feel this power return, once you see the first signs of the flow, you will be tempted to run and tell everyone. You will want to show your family the mark. You will want to explain the revelation to your friends. Do not do it. Remember Joseph. Joseph had a coat of many colors, a mark of distinction given by his father. It was his version of the M. But what did Joseph do? He immaturely showed it to his brothers who did not have it. He told them his dreams of ruling over them. And what happened? Their jealousy threw him into a pit, one that has been selected. Your brothers and sisters do not have this mark. If you show a weapon to someone who does not understand war, they will call you crazy. If you talk about high voltage power to people who are comfortable in the dark, they will try to unplug you. This requires strategic silence. Keep your hand open to God, but keep your business closed to the world. Mary carried the Messiah in her womb, but she hid herself for months. You are carrying a miracle. Do not expose it until it is full grown. Let the results speak for you. Allow them to observe, but refrain from revealing the source. We have exhausted our allotment of words. This is the conclusion of the theory. The warning has been issued. A timeline has been established. The spark is the sole remaining component. We are on the brink of conducting the activation ceremony to permanently inscribe this revelation into your spirit. I require you to immediately adjust your position. I urge you to rise in spirit if you are currently lying down. I would like you to sit up straighter in your seat, square your shoulders, and shift your internal stance from that of a listener to that of a commander if you are driving. We are going to secure this. Are you ready? We have reached the summit. Everything that has been communicated to you thus far was a form of preparation. We are now entering the Holy of Holies. We are transitioning from information to activation. I would like you to immediately alter your internal environment. Ignore any distractions that may be present. Allow the noise to dissipate into the background. You are entering a spiritual operating room where the master surgeon is about to perform surgery on your hands. Please refrain from listening to my voice in a passive manner. The guide is merely my voice. The work must be done by your spirit. I would like you to envision your hands in front of you for one final time. However, refrain from viewing them as mere flesh and bone. Regard them as spiritual vessels. Observe the faint light that illuminates the lines on your palms. These are the instruments of your fate. However, they have been unclean for an excessive amount of time. Not with soil, but with the residue of failures that you have held on to for decades, with fear, with doubt. Before we can activate the high voltage of God's power, it is necessary to clean the connection points. A short circuit will occur if power is applied to a dirty wire. Therefore, we commence with the cleansing process. Concentrate on your breathing. Deeply inhale, allowing tranquility to permeate your lungs. Slowly exhale, expelling the tumult of the day. Speak this with your spirit, or if possible, whisper it. I offer my hands to you, Lord. I regret the manner in which I have employed them. I regret the closed fist. For the instances in which I clenched my fists in fear, attempting to regulate what was exclusively within your capacity to manage. I regret the condition of my hand, which has withered. For those instances in which I permitted my abilities to deteriorate due to my apprehension of their criticism, I am prepared to relinquish control. Presently, I extend my hands. The baggage was abandoned by me. I abandon the notion of resentment. I relinquish the necessity of understanding the manner in which it will transpire. I empty my vessel to allow you to refill it. Experience the sensation of lightness as it enters your wrists. That is the weight of control dissipating. Given that the hands are now open, it is imperative that we address the adversaries who are arrayed around you, eager to seize this seed. 7 distinct forms of warfare were previously identified. We will not disregard them. Immediately, we will secure their arrest. I will communicate with each individual. And as I do so, I would like you to imagine chains separating from your fingers. I address the spirit of the heavy hand. You, the supernatural exhaustion force that endeavors to paralyze this chosen one prior to their commencement. In the name of the Most High, I obligate you. You are not authorized to be in this location. This depression's gravity has been compromised. I declare that a supernatural energy is entering these muscles. Lightness is reinstated. I converse with the spirit of panic and anxiety, as well as the trembling hand. You are the liar who causes them to tremble at the brink of a breakthrough. Your frequency is silenced. I direct the nervous system of this selected individual to align with the tranquility of heaven. The shaking has ceased. A sense of tranquility and stability is gradually assuming control. I address the sticky hand, the spirit of bitterness and past offenses. I direct you to release your hold. We eliminate the adhesive residue of past disloyalty. The debtors are pardoned. We relinquish the memory of the loss. This hand is uncontaminated. It will no longer retain ashes. It is permissible to acquire new knowledge. I address the spirit of paralysis and delay, the withered hand. This potential has been dormant for years due to your force. I curse the source of that aridity. I issue a command to restore life to the dreams, projects, and creativity of this selected individual. Extend your body. Activate. The period of anticipation has ended. A new season of movement has commenced. I address the spirit of poverty and deprivation, the empty hand. You accuse them of mocking their identity and pointing to their bank account. I silence you with the covenant's truth. This hand is not empty. It contains the king's signature. I condemn the devourer who consumes the harvest. The leak has been resolved. The bag that has holes has been repaired. I address the spirit of shame, the dirty hand, and the voice that proclaims, "You are unworthy." I implore the blood of the covenant to be shed over these hands. They are washed in white. The past has been erased. The record has been expunged. This chosen one is righteous not by their works, but by the seal of God. Finally, I address the pride that believes it can force doors open, the fist of control. We are modest. We relinquish control of the outcome. We have faith in the current.
Selected one, pay close attention. What I am about to reveal is not appropriate for everyone. This is an urgent message intended for those who truly follow God's divine path. If you do not feel a strong, undeniable pull toward God, are here out of curiosity, or have a casual faith, this is not the place for you. You are free to leave at this time. However, if you are still present, it is critical that you understand the information. It's because God allowed this message to reach you just when you needed it the most. This did not happen by chance in your area. I am certain that the information you are about to receive will significantly alter your perception of yourself, your interpretation of your challenges, and your trajectory from this point forward. There is an item that you need now more than ever. Although you already have it, you have yet to recognize its full potential. As a result of its inactivity, you've been experiencing intense fatigue, unease, delay, and restlessness. Your presence here, chosen one, is not accidental. This message was delivered precisely on time, before the situation became even more destabilized. Please stay with me until the end, as the information that is about to be revealed will lift a heavy burden from your mind and restore you to your divine purpose. If this message is already resonating, please show your support by subscribing, if you haven't already, and sharing it with other chosen ones who are ready to awaken. Type 777 in the comments to declare that you are in alignment with God's divine order and are ready to take on the responsibilities that have already been assigned to you. This declaration demonstrates your true identity and explains why you've always felt separated. Take a moment, chosen one, to relax and accept this. I'm not addressing the most visible aspect of you. Rather, I'm addressing the part of you that has always known it lacks a sense of belonging in a place where others appear to be at ease. This sensation did not arise when life became oppressive. It didn't begin with disappointment or loss. You carried it for a long time before learning how to articulate it. However, despite the appearance of a normal environment, a part of you knew you were not built the same way. Others missed what you saw. You had an experience that others had avoided. You carried a burden in your heart, whereas others moved on with ease. During your childhood, your spirit was particularly sensitive to truth, injustice, and pain. Your inner world was already awake at the time, even if you didn't realize it. You were sensitive not because of your fragility, but because God gave you depth. You asked questions that were unnecessary for others to answer. Some people accepted simplistic explanations for why people inflict harm on one another, the existence of suffering, and the disparity between the weight and lightness of specific locations. Your soul remained restless. Rebellion was never the source of that unrest. Recognition was the result. Your spirit responded to God before your mind could comprehend Him. This is why you've frequently felt misunderstood, labeled as being overly emotional, serious, intense, or quiet. Others could not recognize you because they were unable to perceive the qualities that God had implanted within you. Even in the presence of others, those chosen frequently feel invisible. Even in a crowded room, it is possible to feel isolated. Rejection was not the source of that loneliness. It was an act of preparation. It was never intended that you completely assimilate. The pace of the world does not match the movement of your spirit. You possess the ability to live, laugh, and function. However, there was always a line in your heart that you were unwilling to cross. Your internal compass points upward, not outward, in search of the truth rather than approval. You have observed the various ways in which chaos affects you. You're disturbed by the darkness that others tolerate. When others adjust to toxic environments, you feel depleted. You are exhausted by the noise. Your soul yearns for peace, clarity, and truth. This is not indicative of weakness. This is an act of discernment. Many of you learned at a young age that being unique can be detrimental. As a result, you made adjustments. You observed more than you spoke. You assumed the roles of listener, assistant, and silent bearer of weight. Despite your efforts to endure by contracting yourself, the whisper persisted. The whisper represents God's imprint on you. Individuals who have been chosen do not always speak up. Silent spiritual carriers are among the most powerful. They are in deep contemplation. They feel intense emotions. They proceed cautiously. In God's eyes, power cannot be measured in terms of volume. His method of measurement includes alignment. You have consistently been drawn to truth rather than performance. Immediately, you can detect hypocrisy. You can hear words that appear holy, but leave you feeling empty. This awareness has caused you to feel uneasy in certain situations, and it is not a defect. God never commanded you to blindly follow a system. He requested that you accompany him openly and candidly. It's possible you've noticed the pattern. As one's inner growth progresses, life becomes more isolating. Relationships fluctuate. Meaning is lost in conversations. This is not a point of pride. It's a period of transition. Some people are unable to accompany you on the path you are being guided. It's painful to be separated. However, it also offers protection. Before elevating, God separates. Before he can speak clearly, he mutes the noise. Silence hones the chosen. There, one's identity is determined. You were compelled to mature at a young age. Wounds, betrayals, and losses all serve to dispel illusions. You gained endurance while others gained comfort. While others pursued pleasure, you sought significance. Please hear this clearly. Your difficulties never indicated abandonment. They were indicators of trust. Because of the weight you carry, pressure was allowed. Not all materials undergo the same testing procedures. You are responsible for actions that were not initiated by you. You can detect emotional fluctuations. The weight of words is palpable. You are able to read atmospheres. This is due to the fact that you were meant to guide gently, influence quietly, and not dominate. This is the reason you experience fatigue without any explanation. It is not only physical, it's spiritual. You are responsible for absorbing more than you release. You disclose less than you process. Furthermore, you rarely allow yourself to fully relax. However, for you, rest is not a form of avoidance. It is contingent on your calling.